Okay, we all have different knowledge bases. So when I say in this picture, you can see the energy field or the aura, people who have seen it before automatically go and look and know what I'm talking about. Other people are looking here, here, everywhere else. What I'm actually talking about is this whitish blue line in between the two pencils that go up and run along my shoulder and up to here. This is the energy line that I was talking about in the previous video. So if nobody's ever seen energy or anything before, they wouldn't know where to look in the picture. But that's basically where I was pointing to. So that's what I meant. So as you can hear, I am at home, and there's stuff going to be happening in the background that I cannot really control. If I waited till everybody was out of the house and waited for my work schedule to comply to make the perfect video, then it would never happen. So in the last video, Seeing Energy 1, I talked about that seeing energy and asked what you believed, if it was an optical illusion or if you were seeing energy and that type of thing. I also mentioned about how there's no such thing for humans as a master. Now you can be involved in the mastery of something. Now it's language. You could also say you could specialize in something. But the reason why I say that there's no master is, let's say you're a mechanic or a chef, and you could be, if you claim the title master chef or master mechanic, then a week later an indigenous tribe might come out of the jungles with plants that you've never heard about with all new recipes. So you're back to learning again. So you're not truly a master. Same as a mechanic. New technology will come out and they have to continuously learn. So they're involved in the specialization of a subject. That's their knowledge base. Now, as far as age is concerned, you could have a 50-year-old or older mechanic, and they could be man or woman, doesn't matter, and they could be looking at another person, man or woman, who is in their 20s, and they can be looking at their car and thinking, man, this young person doesn't know anything, blah blah blah, right? Because of their knowledge base. Does that make them special and unique from this other person? No, because a week later that mechanic might go to the doctor's office and this younger person is explaining stuff to him about his human body and his condition in order to help him. So now he is in a position that he barely understands what this particular doctor is saying. So therefore, specialization is like another word for mastery. So language is very important when it comes to a lot of different things, especially on the internet. You have people talking about new age stuff, and they're mixing different religions and everything into what they're talking about, and they're using terminology that another person doesn't quite understand or doesn't quite see, and then the other person gets a little put off by it, right? So for an example of that, I think I might get into that a bit later. But as far as what people experience when they're learning new information, as an example, I've continued and put up that other picture and showed in the video where the actual line is that I'm talking about for the energy. Now, what is this energy? I've asked you what you believed, and I've noticed a certain pattern. And the pattern I've noticed is basically you're holding your eyes in a certain position. So first of all, what I'd like to say is there is a program on YouTube called TED's Talk. And in TED's Talk, there's a series, and a bunch of different titles and stuff like that. And one of them is called Your Brain Hallucinates Your Conscious Reality. And it's by a man, uh, I don't know if I can pronounce his name right. It's Anil, Anil Seth, Seth. But he'll go into a really good explanation of how our minds work. Um, so basically, what he's saying is everything's dark inside your mind, and the images and stuff that you see are basically hallucinations that your mind generates inside. He explains it way better. Um, so when you see a cup or a table or anything like that, that's a hallucination, but they classify it as a controlled hallucination because other people can see it as well, right? So so basically on that, then everything that we see out here is a hallucination. So that the picture that I showed you with the energy, that is hallucination. Everything in front of you, everything is a hallucination taking part in your mind. Now, hallucination, a lot of people don't like that word. Controlled hallucination, not so bad. Another person that was explaining some texts that predate the Sumerian that kind of intertwines with it, talked about holograms, right? So don't let the language trip you up in it. But I really liked the term hallucination. And so basically, the pattern that I've noticed is, I'll go into NLP for a moment, and I'll grab one of my books here that I received from somebody that I trained under. And you can get this anywhere online on the web. So basically, your eye movements, they move up to one side to construct images, and they move up to another to remember images. So with the thought in mind that everything that we see on the outside that everybody agrees upon are controlled hallucinations, then when, according to NLP, when we look up into one side or another, we're either constructing or remembering more kinds of hallucinations, that's your memories, right? So would they be controlled or not is the thing. Other people can't see your memories like a cup on the table. So I'd say they'd be like semi-controlled, you know what I mean? So if we go into another thing, because not a lot of people are familiar with NLP, if we go into law enforcement and psychology, they use this part right here to see whether people are, for interrogation in criminology, or remembering information or fabricating information. So the pattern that I've noticed is that the way we focus our eyes is how we construct a hallucination. So whether it's a shared hallucination like a cup, or one that we generate in our minds. So what we're doing is we're moving our eyes in order to create this hallucination. So the pattern I've noticed is that we look upwards a little bit in order to form hallucinations in our mind, to remember things and to create things. So what also is happening is, when I told you to look for the energy, you're also moving your eyes in a certain pattern. So you're also constructing another hallucination. So basically everything we see is a hallucination. Therefore, that energy is a hallucination too. So is it a controlled hallucination? Well, not everybody can see it unless they unfocus their eyes and look for it. Therefore, I would say, now the terminology might change, but I would say it's a semi-controlled hallucination. Now, another thing I've noticed when it comes to patterns is when people are talking about the third eye and things like that. What they'll do is they'll take their finger and they'll press here. Now when your eyes are closed and you press there, your eyes automatically want to dart like that, going into the same, almost the same position as when you're looking for energy. So your eyes have a huge part, the way you position them, into how you create these hallucinations, either controlled hallucinations or semi-controlled hallucinations. So would seeing energy be a controlled hallucination? Well, not everybody can see it. And is it, even if you can see it, and other people can, to make it kind of a controlled hallucination, is it really controlled? Because the colors that you see might be a reflection of the emotion that you're feeling, right? So when you look at somebody and you say, well, he's got this type of aura, that type of aura, that could actually be your unconscious picking up on how you perceive them to be, and that emotion being transmitted into your hallucination. Therefore, it's semi-controlled, we'll say. So the other pattern that I've noticed is this, like this third eye or whatever. When you put your finger there, and your eyes automatically kind of look towards it, that's creating like a more visual. It's basically another way to position your eyes to experience certain hallucinations. Now what I've noticed, the other pattern I've noticed is, you've heard of people when they go to sleep, they'll see images, maybe a face or scary things or pleasant things or whatever. What I've noticed is if you hold your eyes in almost the exact same positions, you can alter those hallucinations so they become more of a controlled hallucination to the person for the better, right? So if you're scared of something, you can hold your eyes in that position and change the picture, change the colors, change whatever. And I'll get into this a bit more. So that's the patterns that I've kind of been looking at when it comes to seeing energy and a lot of this other things. And yeah. So as a brief recap of this video, we talked about the different types of hallucinations, or images and pictures and sounds and feelings, experiences that we have in our minds. And our minds are in our skulls, so it's a dark place. They're forming these hallucinations that we experience and we form into reality. And we talked a little bit about the other more personal hallucinations that we call memory or daydreaming and that type of stuff. And then we get into preset of that just before the images and stuff you see as you're falling asleep. And then dreams, they would be another form of personal hallucinations as well. So I just briefly touched on how, besides your eye positioning and stuff like that, affects these types of hallucinations, but there's also something else that affect them, and that is emotion. And in the next video, we'll get into creating these hallucinations, creating images and pictures and dreams. So keep searching for answers, and thanks for listening. All right.